Hello, fans of UFC, MMA, and everything that is combat sport. Um, getting back on track. This weekend is UFC 173, and I can't say it's worth the card swipe at all, but I'll definitely be watching it. But it's one of those cards where I feel like the top tier, the top three matchups, aren't going to be that competitive. So I'm going to go cheat mode and buy SD, and I'll definitely I'll DVR it and watch all three of these guys get knocked out. I mean, there's never been betting odds this wide for the top tier competition in a pay-per-view event. I don't think ever. Not as far back as at least the UFC's been doing betting odds, and I've been looking back on betting odds way before the UFC put up their official Vegas betting odds. With pay-per-view, with Silva and GSP gone and being inactive, GSP actually, leaving his belt, Anderson losing his belt and then getting knocked out again, or not knocked out again, rather hurt really bad, and with no return date, these two were inactive. They were the top two pay-per-view draws, and they are now gone. So we're stuck with Renan Barao versus TJ Dillashaw. About that, I don't see going past the third round being a main event. It's supposed to be the main attraction. I think, if anything, Lawler and Ellenberger are going to have a fairly decent fight, but I see Lawler come out on top for sure. The odds of Barao is an 8-1 favorite. Understand what that means. He's an 8-1 favorite. That means that people that do this shit for a living, they live, eat, breathe, and sleep guarantees that they can guarantee you 8-1 that this guy's going to win. They do this shit for a living. They don't make those odds or set those odds that high unless they're pretty damn confident that they're going to win your money. And they feel like Barao's going to win. And so do I. I think Barao's got the higher, stiffer competition under his belt, especially with Team Alpha Male. He's who hasn't he beat from there besides Dillashaw? He's embarrassed Uriah Faber. Last outing, embarrassed Uriah Faber, I thought, in the stand-up. I thought it was definitely a premature stoppage, but how much did Faber really have for Barao? Was he going to throw something that Barao hasn't seen before? I doubt it. I think it would have went Renan Barao's way, regardless, anyway. But moving on, I think his win streak is just it's beyond saying that it's incredible. Saying that it's incredible is the understatement of the century. John Jones' win streak is incredible. Renan Barao going 10 years and 35 fights, going undefeated. The last time he lost a fight was the first time he fought in mixed martial arts in a small show in Brazil. Since then, he's been a fucking monster on a tear. 135-pound gremlin on a fucking tear. And I don't see that changing tomorrow night in TJ Dillashaw. TJ Dillashaw does have, he's still developing, where Renan Barao has developed to this extreme, almost a GOAT. I think he's definitely, not arguably, top 3 pound for pound in the world at any weight class. One of the most skilled, talented, but hard to push, he's really hard to sell. He's a hard buy, it's a hard bargain. Renan Barao, he doesn't have the look, he doesn't speak English. He has every bit of skill and talent that you'll ever need to compete in this sport. But in the UFC, you also need marketability, and it's really hard, I feel like, the UFC to push Renan Barao on people. Even that division's hard to push on people. TJ Dillashaw, he's still developing. He's got immense pressure on him to bring the win back to Team Alpha Male, because Barao did take down several of his training partners. Dwayne Bang Ludwig says it's his star pupil, so we'll see what happens on the feet. But Renan Barao knows what Team Alpha Male does. They have dynamic stand up that's a little bit different every time, tweaks here and there, and then they always look for the takedown and the submission. He said it actually, during the countdown, so he knows what's going to happen. I think he's a little bit bigger of a fighter too, Renan Barao. I think he's bigger than Dillashaw. Bang Ludwig says it's his star pupil, so that's the only thing I'm banking on. Maybe seeing something different, with this Team Alpha Male, no Manal, like fucking little rival they got going. This fight to me is ridiculous and should never be happening. Cormier versus Henderson. Dan Henderson did not look good to me versus Shogun the second time, although he did win the fight convincingly by knockout. I thought before that he was getting outclassed. I think Shogun's far past his prime. Hendo is far past his prime. He's no Randy Couture. He does not look spectacular at age 43 like Randy Couture did. He does not look Like he can go 5 or even 3 solid hard rounds and not tire. I think he's got that big right hand. I think he's got his wrestling, and also wrestling reverse. The wrestling defense is incredible. His Greco-Roman is as good as anybody's. He's a legend in the sport. When you say legend, you think Dan Henderson, simultaneously holding 2 belts in Pride in 2 different weight divisions, coming to the UFC, fighting for a title before losing to Rampage Jackson via decision, was rough for him. It's the only thing missing on his resume. But does this guy really have it? And it hasn't been that long since he knocked Shogun out, maybe 2-3 months ago. He has a little bit of momentum on his side, but age is against him. His cardio is against him, and his skill. He's not a very dynamic fighter. You know what he wants to do. He can take you down. He's great on the ground. He's also great with that big overhand right that can end fights at any time, including Cormier. It can end this for Cormier with one punch. But I don't see it happening. Cormier comes in as a minus 850. What that means is he's an 8.5 to 1 favorite. Dan Henderson is plus 575, which means he's a 6 to 1 underdog. Close to a 6 to 1 underdog. I think those odds are fair. Cormier has decimated motherfuckers for the longest time. I think 4 years now in 2 separate organizations in the heavyweight division. He's undefeated in the next division up. And he's not a big guy. He's, I think, 5'10". I'm 5'11", an inch smaller than me. Just a big guy with a lot of skills that are still developing. And he's training out of AKA, the former training center of Josh Koscheck, home of Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez, he sees him being the heavyweight champ for a long time. In the UFC, as do I. So Daniel Cormier steps down from heavyweight. He also won the fucking Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament, which included savages like Fabricio Verdum, who's fighting for the title very soon. Fedor Emelianenko was in that title. This included monsters, and he won that tournament. Came to the UFC and has been on a tear. Frank Mir, one of my favorite fighters, absolutely made him look ridiculous. Pat Cummings was his first knockout in the UFC, was his last performance. Very convincing at 205. Looks great, looks spectacular. I think he's going to look just that good, if not better, fighting Dan Henderson because, supposedly, title shot for the winner. Now, when it comes down to Lawler and Ellenberger, this is where it starts to get competitive. Robbie Lawler looked not like the Robbie Lawler of old in his last fight with Johnny Hendricks. He looked like Robbie Lawler 2.0, revamped, like there was something behind him pushing him to be a far superior athlete and to perform better than he's ever performed in his life. There's something lit a fire under Robbie Lawler's ass, and it's very visible, very clear. There's nothing more than he would like, I'm positive, than a rematch with Johnny Hendricks. He believes he won the fight. A lot of people do. Let's see him do it again. Let's see Jake Ellenberger take it from him. Jake Ellenberger is a little close to a 2 to 1 underdog, which is fair, which is about right. Ranked number 5. Robbie's ranked number 1. Rankings don't mean anything to me, but apparently they mean a lot to a lot of people. Lawler, a minus 220 favorite, so he's more than a 2 to 1 favorite in this fight. I can see finishes in all 3 of those fights, but I do see a couple going to decision. Normally the 135ers don't finish a lot. That's kind of a stigma they have. I see that going. I see that stopping Saturday night. I can see Barao stopping Dillashaw. Don't know how. Don't care. I can just definitely see it happening. Cormier and Henderson, there's no doubt in my mind that fight will not go 3 rounds, and Henderson will not beat Daniel Cormier. I'm not gonna. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, people, to even think that. It's ridiculous. If you're betting on Henderson, you're gonna lose your money. Save your money. That fight's for the birds. The only fight worthwhile on the card is ruthless Robbie Lawler versus Jake Ellenberger. Jake the Juggernaut Ellenberger. Heavy hands. Only time he ever had a stinker fight was against Rory McDonald. He's worthy of the fight. I'll do a post-fight, and I guarantee I'm right. I'm going to put this out on YouTube for just about anybody that wants to watch it. I never make guarantees in MMA because every time I do, I get embarrassed. So I figured, let's get on YouTube, make some guarantees. Maybe this card will have some added excitement that I didn't see coming because these 3 fights for me are very easy to pick. Barao, Cormier, and Lawler. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I did change my name just for a little while. Going to see if it sticks. don't see it, don't like it so far. I hate it. I like to keep everything the same. I like my Public Silver 101 brand, and I love my fans, and I love my fucking subscribers. Let me know what you think in the comment section about these top 3 fights. UFC 173 goes down Saturday on pay-per-view. UFC Public Silver 101.